So for me, it all started. I was working in Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. I had worked there for a while, and so one day I was in the I was in front of the microbiology department, and this very neatly dressed lady came, and she wanted to do a test for vaginal infections. Okay, in hospitals in Ghana, to do the test, they need to take a swab. So you lie down, somebody would take a swab, and then 3 days time you get your results. Excited about the swab. Now, the main issue is that most times you would not find a lady there to take the swab. Whoever is on duty, whether male or female, is the one that is going to take the swab. Don't get excited. It is not pleasant. In my professional life, I've taken so many of those swabs, and I can tell you that it is not something to be excited about. Okay. But back to the story. This lady comes, and there was this guy, I won't mention his name. He was supposed to take the swab. So he tells her to go undress and lie down. He will join her. And the lady burst out crying. Seriously, she started crying. Because she just couldn't understand why she would come and strip for a stranger to just look at her nakedness. So, as mostly happens, we had to educate her about it. We had to talk to her a lot. And then gradually she agreed. We took the swab and all of that. But after she left, I started thinking about it. And I started thinking about the fact that there are so many people that may be facing the same thing. Why wouldn't it be possible to probably just develop a test that can be able to test for somebody? You don't need to take a swab. Probably you could use your urine or something. That was the idea that came. And I said, okay, let me read about it a bit. So I started reading about it. Around the same time, I decided that I wanted to set up a lab. That was because most of the time, people come to the hospital and you ask them, so they come and then they're supposed to come to the hospital in a week's time with their lab results for treatment, right? And then months, you don't see them. And then they finally come and their condition would have deteriorated. And then you ask them and they tell you there was no money to go and do the labs. So I was like, labs should be quite inexpensive. So I went onto the internet and looked at the reagents and kits that are being used in the lab. I realized that they were quite inexpensive. So why are lab tests expensive? So I decided to set up a lab just by the hospital so that in my estimation, I could give affordable laboratory services to people. And then, of course, if it's affordable, I'll get a lot more people and I'll become rich all in 2 weeks. Yay. That was my dream. Unfortunately, when I started, within 2 weeks, I realized I had made a very big mistake. And that was because all the reagents that were used in the lab, all the kits that were used in the lab, we did not make any of them in Ghana. We had to import every single thing. And to import them, you needed somebody to do the importation. That person will put a markup, right? Then, when they come, they will sell it to a wholesaler who will sell it to a retailer before it gets to you. Everybody puts a markup. So by the time it gets to you to use in the lab, you are paying about 3 times the amount you saw on the internet as the cost of the reagents, which means that you cannot reduce the test. And for somebody like me that had just started, okay, that meant that it was going to even be more expensive than what was available, because those that were doing large tests, they could reduce it. But with somebody like me, with just one or two people coming in a day, it meant that I had to even make the price more expensive than what was available. So basically, I had not been able to achieve the aim. So coupled with the ladies' example, I decided that, I wanted to start making these kits. Okay. But, I mean, you are not taught in school how to make the kits. Nobody teaches you that. So I decided that I needed to invest in myself. So between 2014 and somewhere 2016, every year, whenever I was on leave, my leave was 36 working days. So I would take, and usually I had a few days before and after. So I would travel to the US, go to an organization called DCN. They make these test kits in the US. I'll pay them. And then just like an internship, right? I would do an internship there for a month. And then they had conferences that they organized. So there's a conference that they organize, which also takes a bit of time. So I would write my CEO, and then they would give me permission and I'll go. So in a year, I could go like 2 or 3 times just to go and learn how to do this. But it was very capital intensive. I had to take loans and all of that to be able to go and learn how to make test kits. Okay. 2016, I had finished developing a test, which I called the VAG kit, which could test for the 3 common infections that give discharges in women. Okay, so there are 3. Candida, Trichomonas, and then Gardnerella. These are the 3 main ones. There are others, but they are very minor. Now, so when a lady has vaginal discharge of these 3. So I had developed a test where once you take your urine and you put it there, you'll be able to tell you, just like a pregnancy test, 1 line is negative, 2 lines are positive. It'll be able to tell you whether you have Candida, you have Trichomonas, or you have Gardnerella. And once you have it, the treatment is different for each one. So if a lady comes to the hospital now, she doesn't have to go and lie down for somebody to take a swab. She could just pee and put it on it, and it will be able to detect it. Okay. So, I was excited about it. The same year, I did this development in 2016, after spending about 2 years learning how to make these kits. I had a lot of help from GCN because they will look at what I was doing, correct me, and all of that. So when I was done, at the same time, I was selected for the Mandela Washington Fellowship. The Mandela Washington Fellowship was started by President Obama. It's a program of the U.S. State Department for people who are between 25 years and 35 years. You go to the U.S. Where you are sent to a university in the U.S. Okay, you go and learn about leadership, about things that are happening, basically how to be ethical and all of them. And afterwards, you get to go to the State Department. You get to go to Washington, where you get the opportunity to have a town hall with the President of the United States. So my time, we had a town hall with President Obama. Afterwards, when Trump came, he wasn't coming, but somebody else was there. Anyway, so after my fellowship, I had the opportunity to go to the CDC in Atlanta. So for those who don't know, the CDC is like the World Health Organization of the United States. Okay, if you watch a lot of these pandemic movies, you always hear the CDC. So I had the opportunity to go to the CDC, where I tested my kits, and my kits was working. So I was excited. And once again, I told myself that, I'm coming back to Ghana to make a lot of money. Because when you look at the numbers, right, the number of women we have in Ghana and the number of people, it's very common for people to have vaginal discharges. So just imagine everybody was buying my kits like, I become rich in no time. So I came back to Ghana. The first thing I did was to go to the Ministry of Health. I went to the ministry, and then I went and explained to them what I had done. At the time, nobody had developed something like this in the world. So I was pretty good about myself, right? So I went to the ministry, and then I was sent to a room where there was a man sitting down and there was somebody standing by him. And then I went and I said all the things and all of that. I'm sorry, I'm going to say something in Twi. If you don't understand Twi, I'll try and translate it. Then the guy who was standing there was like, it was a brony bida. Okay, which means that, so even the white man hasn't done this before. And I said, oh no. And then they looked at each other and then they laughed. I would never forget this. Like they looked at each other and then they laughed. And then I was told that then the one sitting down was very political, was very calm. He was like, the ministry is always looking out for innovators and everything. And so whatever help they can give me and all of that, they'll do it so that I'll take my innovation to the next level and all of that, and they'll get back to me. Okay. They got back to me. So this was in 2016. They got back to me in 2019. After Purdue University had patented the kit that I had developed, and I had come on CNN and BBC and all of those things to talk about the kit, that was when they reached out to me. Okay? Anyway. So around that time as well, I had started a PhD in microbiology. But I was still very interested in this whole test kit, especially the VAG kit, because I felt that it was something I wanted to move forward with. So I went to see, I went from place to place trying to raise funds to be able to take it to the next level. Because what I had developed was a prototype. And for those of you in biomedical engineering or any of the engineering programs, that's one of the challenges you're going to face when you develop something innovative that people do not know. I mean, people will know that this is going to be good, but people are not too sure about. You will struggle to bring it to market. It's a normal thing. But the thing is that when you do bring it to market, you'll be surprised at the number of people that would now come and offer you support. Okay. So I went from place to place looking for funding. I didn't get. I was in Kumasi. I was working. So what will happen is that I'll take night duty in the hospital. In the morning, okay, very early. The guy who would come in the morning, he was a very good friend of mine. So he would come and then I would leave and then come to Accra. Come and do I'll come and do my rounds and then go and sit in the bus and go back to Accra, go back to Kumasi. So I was coming to Accra almost every day, moving from office to office. I remember there's a guy, Echo. Because I used to go from office to office, he used to meet me a lot. And he used to joke that I am one of the number one hustlers in Ghana. Because every day I'm in a different office trying to make money. Fortunately, I got a bank that was prepared to give me a loan for me to start. I needed to buy equipment and all of that. At the same time, I got a letter from Purdue University inviting me to come back. That's where I did my fellowship. So they wanted me to come back on a scholarship. I was planning not to go for the scholarship because I felt that I was going to do another PhD in biomedical engineering. And I was thinking that I wanted to invest in the business. Anyway, finally the bank approved the loan. The loan was approved on a Friday. I remember very well. I was in Accra. I went there. We signed all of that. They were going to make the deposit into my account on the Monday. So I sat in a bus, got to Kumasi. While I was going home, I got a notification from the suppliers, those that were going to supply me the equipment. They had increased the equipment by 100%, which meant that the loan I was going to take would not be able to buy the equipment. So I sent a message to the bankers, the relationship manager at the bank. I said that I couldn't take the loan. Because even if I take the loan, I'll not be able to buy what I want to buy. And already the loan was very, very high. And they didn't even want to give me that amount because they felt that I didn't have a track record. So I could not pay for it. So I could not take any more. So that was it. And then I went, my apartment was upstairs. So I climbed up. I was wearing a white top, brown khaki pants, and then one of my favorite shoes. I went under the shower and opened the shower in my fully clothed. And then I cried like I've never cried before. Because I just felt like all my dreams. Remember, I started this in 2014, right? And this was the latter part of 2016. And where was I going to get the money? So anyway, I cried plenty. After that, I dried myself in my shirt and everything, and I went and slept. When I woke up, I sent a message to Purdue University, and I accepted the scholarship. Okay, so I decided to forget about this, and I accepted the scholarship, and I left. So Purdue was also a whole thing. I was able to finish within 2 years. I was done. Okay, because the topic I chose to do was to develop a test for a disease called yaws. Ghana is endemic to yaws. Okay, and so I had my PhD in microbiology had been on yaws. So developing a test for it, it was supposed to be a 4-year PhD. I ended up doing it in 2 years. And when I was done, I got a job in the US in Laud Diagnostics as an R&D scientist, and also teaching part-time in the university, Purdue University. But I still had the dream that I wanted to come and do this. I don't know, it was that much of a conviction. And in Purdue, I was always developing new things. And the kit I had developed for yours, in 2019, it was selected as one of the top 30 innovations in health by the World Health Organization. And I had developed so many tests for STIs. Like, developing tests was something that I enjoyed doing. So every time I was in the lab, I was doing something like that. So I was always on the news. I was making a name. Purdue had patented the VAC kit and was making all of that. And I remember there's a bi-weekly magazine that goes around that is found in Purdue. It's usually shared around emails. My face was almost always on the cover page because of the things I was always doing, and I was always in the news. I remember the last one before I left, they had written the Rising Star, and then my picture and all of that. I felt really good about it. 2 weeks after that, I decided that I wanted to leave and come back to Ghana to start Incas. I had done a lot of pitches. So anytime I hear there's a pitch, I'll go and pitch. And I was always winning. Okay, so I had accumulated a bit of money. And so I felt that I was going to come and set up. And then I told my pastor about it. So I'm a Catholic, but in the US, the Catholic Church was very white. And the church service was like an hour. Okay, so you go 10 minutes late and you missed a lot of the service, right? And I like kinky. Well, I liked kinky. Right now I'm trying to lose weight, but I like kinky. And if you wanted to eat kinky, the African church was PIWC. Okay, so after church, then the women would sell kinky, and I would get to buy kinky in the US. So I was going for PIWC. So I told my pastor that I wanted to, and he said, "Oh, that's good. Have I prayed about it?" I said, "Yes," and all of that. He says, "Oh, if you can meet on Friday and then talk more about it." Apparently, they were organizing a deliverance service for me because he couldn't understand why I was doing so well in the US, and I wanted to leave everything and come back to Ghana. My house people might have been calling me. And as I know, sometimes I believe it, especially when things are a bit difficult. I'm like, why did I even move to Ghana? But after the deliverance service, a few days later, I left And I came to Ghana. And now, doing business in Ghana. Doing business in Ghana is completely different. There is an unwritten code, okay? And that unwritten code is called, what is in it for me? Any office you go to, you have to have an answer to that question. That question will not be asked unless by those who are very open, they would ask you. But most people will not ask you that question, but you need to answer that question. What is in it for the person that you are talking to? You have something that is going to probably do something good in Ghana. They don't care. You have to answer the question, what is in it for that person? It could be either a 10% something or an envelope right now or something. Okay? If you don't answer that question, unfortunately, you won't get anything done in Ghana. However, you can navigate through all of these complex business practices without corrupting your morals. And that is what the talk today is going to be about. The first thing I did was I had raised about $200,000 at the time through my pitches and all of that. When I came back to Ghana, instead of going to build some house here and stay in there, I decided to buy the equipment to come and set up the company. I bought the equipment. The first hurdle was at the port. The equipment got in and I had to go and clear it from the port. And that was where the main issue was. I had to pay huge sums of money just to clear this thing from the port. I didn't have money, so I had to, again, borrow from people, got it together, and I did it. But remember, when you develop these kits, it takes a long time for them to become approved for the market. Because you have to go through FDA. FDA alone can take 6 months. And before you can send it to FDA, you have to have about 300 pieces of what you are developing. So if it's a pregnancy test, you have to have 300 pieces of pregnancy test, which needs to be manufactured by staff that you have to pay every month without knowing whether your kit will be approved or not. So within a short time, the money was gone. The money that I had saved and all of that, within a short time, the money was gone. But fortunately, I had before I left, there was this contract that I was working on. And the contract was very simple. You screen food vendors for diseases. Before they can sell food, you need to give them certificates to be able to sell the food. At the time, we were charging 30 cedis. You would pay, you would take 10 cedis. The district that you are working on would take 20 cedis, right? Which was pretty simple and pretty above board, right? But apparently, they will pay all the money into your account. Then you go and take their 20 cedis and give to them per person. And we could screen 10,000 people. Right? Okay. They take this and nothing goes to the district. There's the people who gave you the contract and everything, it is with them. Expect you to come and say thank you with your 10 cedis, some of your 10 cedis. Come and say thank you. And then anytime they are in town, they will pass by your office to say hi. In which case, you have to also give them an envelope. Now, I had stopped for a while because I went to school and all of that. But because I needed some money, I decided that I wanted to do this a bit. So we started, and then one day I sat down and I said, no, in the next few years, how will I like to be known? Would I like to be able to beat up my chest and say that since I started practicing in Ghana in terms of business, I've always been ethical in the things that I've been doing? So I decided I was going to stop. So this huge contract, I let it go because I could not do this anymore. And that was when the blowback started coming. You'll be there, and then they would come and say that you've not paid. There's certain licenses that they were not even asking for when you were doing business with them. Almost every month, your business will be closed down for a number of days because you've not paid certain licenses. In 2020, somebody offered to buy my company. I said no. The person told me that it would be very difficult for me to do business in Ghana. I said no problem. I was there when Rambo style, they broadcast to come and lock my place because they said I don't pay taxes. After I showed them receipts and everything, they unlocked it and they left. But the way they came, and I mean, the company is in an area where there are people, so it made it look like we're doing something illegal. You understand? So when you decide that you don't want to toe a certain line, you would always have challenges. You always have people who would come after you. And those are some of the things that have been happening to us. But I can also tell you that it's not all doom and gloom. Okay. Currently, I have contracts in Cote d'Ivoire, I have contracts in the US, I have contracts in Kenya, I have contracts in Rwanda, Tanzania, South Africa. Okay. You can make it even if the conditions are not right for you in Ghana or whichever country you decide to. Most of the time, I realize that Africans like to patronize products that are coming from other countries more than their own country. So I am not really bothered that we are not being patronized a lot. We are being patronized in Ghana. Ghana Health Service buys from us. Quite a number of other organizations buy from us. But, for instance, we get sales more in Cote d'Ivoire than in Ghana. Of course, Nigeria buys once and then we run out of stock for a long time. So we are still doing very well. So it's not all doom and gloom. But I'm going to tell you 4 things you need to know about navigating all of these issues and how to stay ethical throughout all of these. The first is the person leading the group. Your vision and your personal values. It could be a company. It could be just a normal group. Whoever the leader is, your workers would basically complement what you do, but you would have to lead. And to be able to lead, you need to have personal convictions that will tell you that I would not do this no matter what is happening. Do you understand? And that is why whenever there's an issue with any company, the CEO and the board are the ones that are always in trouble. Because they need to provide direction. If you have a lot of corrupt practices, your vision, why did you set up the company? Remember, I set up the company to provide solutions to health challenges, right? I wanted to make diagnostics very affordable to people. And that is still the aim. That is why my pregnancy test is sold at 50 pesos, when a normal pregnancy test is sold maybe around 5 cedis and above. Because we want to make it as simple, as easy to use, as accessible as possible. The kits that I said, drug of abuse, where you can test to see whether somebody has taken drugs, 10-in-1 drugs of abuse, it is sold at 180 cedis. I sell it for 50 cedis. Do you get it? So that is very important. What is the vision? And when your vision is sound, okay, and you put together a plan, you would realize that you'll be able to navigate all the challenges that come because your focus is on the vision that you want to achieve. When I came and I started facing problems, I started thinking about what do I do to survive in this climate? Well, I decided that I wanted to look outside Ghana. I would stay in Ghana. I would make sure that the company thrives in Ghana, but I'll look elsewhere in getting sales and all of that. In 2020, I developed a COVID test. If you heard that a Ghanaian had developed a COVID test and all of that, I was the one that developed it. And I got this very, 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 very juicy deal. That would have made me a billionaire right now. In fact, I thought about it. Okay. I didn't take it. Yes. If I tell you what the deal was, some of you will agree with me, some of you won't agree with me. But I didn't take it. So I didn't take it because of two reasons. Okay. COVID as a pandemic, okay, was affecting a lot of people. I felt that the deal was going to exploit individuals and it was also going to exploit the country, first of all. Secondly, yes, it would have given me a lot of money. In fact, a lot of money. But I felt that my reputation was also going to be on the line if ever there was ever any serious person who decides to do a serious audit. Right? And I felt that I could get the money and do all of those things. But once your reputation suffers a hit, it becomes very, very difficult. And I am young. I'm an old man, but that time I was young, right? And I felt that those people that were bringing the deal, they were there. I hadn't gotten there yet. If my reputation suffers a problem right now and nobody is prepared to do business with my company, as an individual, I'll have money, but I'll have reputational problems the rest of my life. And I know some of you will think that, who cares if you have money, right? And I mean, but if I tell you the circle that I am in, I get invited to, where I get invited to basically, the people I sit with, where outside Ghana, the meetings that I attend, where they consult me for my expertise. Personally, it is worth much, much more than any money that I would need. Look, I kid you not. There are times where all I need to do is take a phone and call somebody, and certain things are done. Do you get it? I don't want to mention because once again, it's a privilege for me to be in certain circles. So it is not very appropriate for me to come and stand here and be mentioning I'm in this circle, I'm in this circle, I'm in this circle. But I can tell you for a fact that there are some things sometimes you would need to Let me even give you just this clear example. Probably, I won't tell you. No. But I'm just trying to tell you that having your reputation intact gives you access to certain places, certain people, certain organizations. Right now, there are places that when I write a recommendation letter to anybody, you would have access simply because I'm the one writing the recommendation. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yes, so let's leave it at that. So the one leading and then the vision is very important. That doesn't mean that because I did not accept the opportunity in 2020, I'm wallowing in poverty. Okay. I mean, I am comfortable. I am not rich, but I am okay. Right? So, if you compare that to being filthy rich and all of those things, and then you becoming a pariah wherever you go, nobody wants to associate with you because you don't have a very good reputation. You know what is happening with Didi right now, right? He's rich, right? Maybe he manufactures baby oil. Nobody knows. Yeah, I mean, if you don't get it, don't worry. Okay, so your reputation is very, very, very important. The second thing that you need to take into consideration is the team that you are with. I have been very, very, very blessed to work with a team at Incas Diagnostics that has my back 24/7. Sometimes things become so tough, okay, and yet they stick with you. Sometimes you take a certain decision and you know clearly that everybody disagrees. There was a time I got another deal. That was quite recently. Okay. And that one, we didn't even have to manufacture. We didn't even have to do anything. Apparently, whoever it is had imported some things, but and they needed us to just basically put our name on it and say that it is ours, so that we can clear and then supply, and then the government will buy. Very simple deal. 40-60. They will take 60%, they will take 40%. Just by owning it. I said no. Okay. My team did not agree with me. They did not agree with me because they analyzed and said, what is the risk? Right? Just saying it's yours. What's the risk? On the face value, it looks like, oh, it's a great deal. I mean, what's the big deal? After all, I didn't do anything. I'm just putting my name. But in a few years, it will come and bite you in a place that you would never forget. So gradually, I said no. And I explained to my team why I said no. And they told me they don't agree with me, they understand, but they will go by the decision. And that is a team that you need to die for. Putting together the team is very important. Putting together a team that you can work with that complements you is very, very, very important if you want to navigate the complex nature of business, the business environment in Ghana or even in Africa. Extremely important. Aside the team, you need to have resilience. If you don't have resilience, you would always be in trouble. Why do I say this? The business climate in Ghana is extremely difficult such that if you're not very careful, you can have a lot of money today. In the next hour, you are completely broke. And it is when you are broke that all the juicy deals come. And if you are not resilient, you would easily take some of them with the excuse that you are broke and you need to keep the company afloat. Again, I'll give you an example. In January 2022, I bought $100,000 worth of raw materials at 610,000 Ghana cedis. The dollar to the cedi was 6.1. January 2022. By August, our kits were done. We had finished selling them. We had a few bit of margin. We were comfortable. But the dollar at that time was around 14 cedis. And it was rising almost every day. So I made a business decision that I was going to buy enough raw materials that will last me a very long time. Even if the dollar gets to 30 cedis, I have raw materials. So I liquidated a lot of my savings, took loans from people, got all of that, put all of that together. $400,000. At the time, when I was ready in October, the dollar was 16 cedis to a dollar. So from 6.1 to 16 cedis. From buying $100,000 worth of raw materials at 610 to buying the same $100,000 worth of raw materials at 1.6 million plus some coins. Right? So I paid 400,000, 4 times that. Access Bank. I came to Accra. I had a few meetings. So I went, it was a Thursday. I went to pay the money. Friday, I had the payment advice. Right? I had the payment advice. Saturday, I was in Accra. Monday, I was driving back to Kumasi. I got to just before Nkoko, and then I had the news that the dollar had moved to 9 cedis. So, without lifting a finger, I had lost almost half of the money that I put in. In fact, I parked the car and called my mechanic to come and drive me to Kumasi. Because imagine, it wasn't only my money, it was other people's money as well. And when you are owing somebody and you've given the person a certain date, and you know you cannot fulfill it, you even go back and you tell them. That's where everybody starts giving you pressure. $2022 wasn't an easy year for me. Even 2023. And a lot of the deals I got that could get me out of this also came end of 2022, 2023. If you don't have strength of conviction, it will be almost impossible for you to say no to some of these things. As I stand today, as I talk to you, I don't know how long I'll be able to continue saying no to some of these deals when they come. But so far, I have been able to say no. But personally, one of the things that has also helped me a lot is being in academia. Okay? What I mean by being in academia, by lecturing, by doing research and all of that. Not because it gives you money, but because that is a place where integrity is it's very, you are supposed to have high integrity. Otherwise, if it messes you up, you can just imagine the embarrassment throughout this thing. So it kind of guides me in the kind of deals that come my way, and the fact that I'm able to say, because I always talk about what is the worst case scenario. If the worst happens, what will happen? And it's not always good in terms of reputation. That's one of the reasons why I am still in academia. I like teaching. As you can see, I like talking. Right? So those are some of the things. Academia has been very good to me. I'm able to do my R&D, so I do a lot of development, all of that in my academic side, and then the business would market the product. But the secondary issue is that it helps me to be ethical. So, resilience, your vision, and your personal values. These are the things you would need to be able to navigate these complex business environments in Ghana. The fifth and the most important one, a lot of prayers. I'm serious. Because some of these deals come at a time when you are at your lowest. When you've not even been able to pay your workers. And somebody comes with a deal that will give you 200,000 Ghana cedis in a few days. All you need to do is to close your eye to one or two things. The ability to know. It's always very, very important. So, in conclusion, it's not easy to do business in Ghana. I think I've been able to establish that. However, the rewards are there. The purpose of this class is not to come and tell you that everything is doom and gloom. If everything was doom and gloom, I would still not be doing it. Once in a while, I ask myself why I came back to Ghana, but 90% of the time, I am glad I did. Because you are making real change. You are making real change. I've been invited to meetings in the World Health Organization to talk about how to roll out diagnostics across Africa. I am one of 6 companies. My company is one of 6 companies in the whole of Africa that manufactures diagnostics. When I started, we were only 4. Currently, my company is, I think, one of 2 private owned. The rest are either owned by expatriate or foreign companies and all of that. Some are run by governments, some are run by universities and all of that. So I am very proud of what we've been able to achieve. We might not be able to get, probably we've not gotten to where we want to get to, but it's very rewarding. Okay. So apart from the recognition, the awards, I get to travel a lot. As I said, it also gives you a lot of circles that you can go into. But most importantly, yes, it gives you money. When I tell people that I sell my pregnancy test for 50 pesos, they don't understand. But I can also tell you that I make their kits less than 10 pesos. So even with 50 pesos, sometimes I feel it's even too much. Right? Again, our drug of abuse test. We make it for 17 cedis and we sell it for 50 cedis. Which gives us a lot of, a box is 1,250. If I sell 1,000 boxes, that's 1.2 million, right? And I mean, I would have used like 170,000 cedis to do the kit. Oh no, 500 and something thousand cedis for the kit. So it's very, very profitable. So it's not all doom and gloom. But you need to be very careful when you start. Because if you have a company or even a group or even as an individual, you finish school, you are working somewhere. It usually starts with something that is not very straight, but not too illegal. Right? So, can you sign this for me? Or you need to do this. Can you do A, B, C, D for me? You realize that it's not straight, but there's nothing wrong with it. So you sign. You get something small, you sign. By the time you realize, you are hooked to the point that getting out of it is difficult. So being able to say no and being able to say no politely, but firmly, is one of the things you need to master. Be careful out there when you are being given a deal that is difficult to refuse. That is where most of the problems are. And surprisingly, when the problems start coming or when the trouble starts coming, if you're not very careful, you are the one they will put all the blame on. The last thing before I close, and then if you have questions, we would answer them. You heard of this trader? I've forgotten his name. He was deported from the UK recently. Not recently, a few years ago, and he's in Ghana. I think Kofi Adoboli or something. Have you heard of him? Oh, when you finish, you can Google his name. Rising star at the bank, right? He was making a lot of money for his bank. It wasn't all the straight and narrow. Okay, he was skirting around the line, and he was being praised for it. He got promotions. He was rising. His bosses were aware. Okay, did insider trading. He was arrested. He was tried, and he was jailed alone. His bosses flat out denied that they were aware. He grew up in the UK. His girlfriend he was going to get married to lived in the UK, like UK all his life, but he was Ghanaian. Immediately he came out of prison, guess what? They deported him to Ghana, where he had to basically come and start from the scratch. When those issues start coming up, you'll be surprised at how fast they'll pin it on you. So don't start. In Ghana here, if you don't have somebody to speak for you, don't get into trouble. If you don't have anybody that can speak for you, don't get into trouble. So when you start working anywhere, you might not have your own company, so you might not be the one leading. But be known as the person who is so forthright, people will insult you. They are sharing some money. You don't know where the money is coming from. And then you take some. Be careful about some of these things. It can easily land you into trouble. And when you get into trouble, that is when the truth and those things that are not all true would be put together and you'll be in trouble. So I'll pause here. If you have any question, I would answer the questions and then we'll take it from there. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Hello. Please, you said that you took loans from the bank. I want to know
No, I didn't take loans from the bank. loans, but not from the bank.
Okay, I want to know if it's advisable to take loans or you are better off not taking.
Oh, that's a very good question. That's a very, very good question. From my experience, if you can find money elsewhere, a loan is not something you should take. Okay, from my experience, if you can find money elsewhere, family and friends, probably raise extra capital, maybe some investors who have a stake and all of that. That is it. Unfortunately, in Ghana, or even in Africa, it takes a while before investors become interested in you, right? And before investors become in you, especially for a capital-intensive business like mine, your friend will not be able to give you 300,000, 500,000 Ghana cedis, right, to be able to buy raw materials. So you would have to take a loan to be able to do that.
Speaking on ethical morals and values, are there ethical frameworks that your company works by or you as a person work by to make sure you are always in check with what you believe in and what you trust in?
All right. So let's talk about the company. Every company should have policies. So we have a lot of policies, anti-fraud policy, sexual harassment policy, all of those policies are there. But the policies will be there if you do not abide by the policies will be useless, right? So as an individual, you need to have certain convictions. If you don't have those convictions, you will see these things as mere suggestions. I'll give you an example. Let's say you are driving. It's in the night. It's around 11 p.m. You're driving and the traffic light is red. There's no car. There's no car anywhere. Will you keep waiting or you pass? As to whether you keep waiting or you pass depends on your personal conviction. The law is there. We are supposed to wait. You get the point. So we can have all the frameworks and all of that. But as a person, you must have certain convictions. There might be things you will tell yourself, as for this, I would not do. It's difficult at the beginning, but I can tell you, as you practice it, you realize that it is not too difficult.
Okay, so regarding the products you developed, have any users of the products reported a false positive or?
That's a very good question. We've not had false positives, but what we have had we've had quite a number of complaints. Not only one product, but quite a number of complaints. Sometimes somebody will tell you that the line is too faint, so it becomes difficult to read, and then you are like, okay, thank you very much. I would work on it. And that is one of the things that one of the reasons why customer feedback in business is very important. Because when you are doing business, you need to be able to take customer feedback and work on it. And if you're able to tell the customer that, okay, thank you, I would work on it and I'll get it done, you realize that you get more customers. So we had, there was a time we had complaints about faint lines. So what we did was that we recalled all of the products, got back, worked on it, and then supplied them back for free. And just this single thing that we did, it got so many people, and people started talking about us because they were surprised that we had even asked for those that they had already done. And when we were replacing, we replaced everything for them. Do you understand? Yes. In a medical devices business, there's an acceptable 20% failure rate, but we try to strive more than that. But when it happens, you should be able to take it in good stride and be able to work on it and let the customer see that you work on it.
Okay, so as a businessman, how do you spot a funny deal? Like a deal that is not, it won't really have an effect on you right now, but in the end, it will bite you.
Good. How do you spot a deal that would give you a lot of problems? I think there's a saying that if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Right? I don't know whether you guys have gotten to the stage, but sometimes you are there and then somebody will send you an email and say that you've been nominated for a particular award. Right? and you realize that the award looks very, very juicy. And then, and all you need to do is buy a table. And then you go in and they'll come and give you that award. You sit down yourself and you're like, but what did I do to deserve this award? I am a businessman. You say you're giving me humanitarian, mental of the whatever. If you are not a humanitarian, and then you go and sit down, wear your seat, and you take the award. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. It's a scam. The award is not credible. Same thing with deals, right? When somebody comes to you with a deal, and you realize that the work that you have to do is very minimal, but there's a lot of money involved, you need to ask questions. Not all of them are bad, but you need to ask questions, and ask questions beyond the surface. What's the catch? What are the next steps? I always ask that. So after I'm like, oh, this is very interesting. So what are the next steps? And that is where they are not too sure. They start, oh, well, if you could get us an invoice, that's when alarm bells start ringing. And look, when you're in business, you should trust your gut. If there's a deal and your gut is telling you, trust it. You might lose a few thousands of Ghana cedis right now, but it will save you a lot. Okay? Yes. So asking questions and then listening to your gut. That is how you spot these things. Okay.
Yes, sir. Please, I want to ask, what's the best financial advice that you have received that helped you throughout your lifetime that you'd want to pass to the younger generation?
Financial advice. Unfortunately, I received this advice when it's not too late, but if I had heard this advice a long time ago, probably I'd have done something about it. I'm a stickler to planning, right? I plan a lot. Everything I want to do, I plan. I have goals, 20-year plans. Okay. In 2017, I drew a 20-year plan of where I want my life to be. It's a guide that helps me to get there. But one of the things that I had never really thought about is financial planning, financial modeling of your personal expenses. I have a 5-year model, financial model of my company. So at Incas Diagnostics, I know the targets for each year. But as a person, I didn't have. How much money am I expecting to come in? What are the expenses? Where do I intend to save? What are the tangibles I want to be able to procure? I never thought about that. The money gets into your account, you take care of the necessary things. You have maybe some small money for entertainment, you go dancing once in a while, all of those things. But when you make a financial plan, you might be getting money from your parents. You might not actually be making money. But when you have a financial plan, you realize that you actually save and still spend. Since I started putting it together, I realized that, so there's an app. It's called, let me look for the name of the app. I think Money something. I'll look for it. Money Manager, right? When you download it, Money Manager, every day, whatever you spend, you key it into the app. So maybe you can do it as you go, or by the end of the day, today I bought this. When you are done, at the end of the month, it graphs of what you spent. That's when you realize that you spend your money on useless things. There was a time I was paying $14 for pay like these streaming apps, Hulu, Disney Plus. They are not in Ghana, but VPN and all of that, so you get access to them. And funny thing was that I wasn't even watching any of them, and I had done automatic deduction on my account. Fresh yogurt. Fresh yogurt. Fresh yogurt was chopping my money. I didn't know. Because you go, maybe in the morning, you go and buy fresh yogurt 12 cedis. Then in the afternoon, you're like, oh, fresh yogurt 12 cedis. In the evening, fresh yogurt 12 cedis. 36 cedis a day on fresh yogurt. Every single day for a month. I was not particularly paying attention to some of these things until I started to key it into the money manager. And then I realized that if I cut down on this and I cut down on this, this is how much I would be saving per year or even per month. Try it. Start putting it together. Once you download it and put it there, you realize that then you have an idea of how much you make and how much you spend. And then you can start reallocating monies to different places. And as you reallocate monies to different places, you realize that you are actually having more fun because you are spending money in places that you enjoy, and then you are also cutting down on expenses and you are saving more. Okay, so that's the advice. Okay, that's it.
Yeah. Since you began your journey, have you had any regrets, or what has been your biggest regret?
So regrets plenty. So before wait. Before he takes it, I want to ask him something. Give it to him. Give the mic. Okay.
Yeah.
So are you talking about personal regrets, business regrets, because they are different?
Yeah, both of them.
Okay. Business regrets. Sometimes I regret coming back to Ghana. Sometimes, especially when things are a lot difficult. But most times, it's fine. I always say, oh, well, it's done. Let me move on. Sometimes I feel like in terms of business, sometimes you regret not taking some of the deals, especially if nothing bad happens, right? But I think basically in terms of business, those are some of the deals. But personal, there are quite a number of regrets. Okay, I'll tell you two of them. One of them is that you work so hard that you neglect friends, right? And look, if you get to a point at this stage, you might think that, oh, I need to work hard. So if you used to go out with friends, reach out, it will get to a point, especially when you are always in the news, you are doing one thing or the other. Sometimes they call you one or two, probably you are busy, you don't answer, and then they start withdrawing, and you don't follow them. You don't try and make amends. You get to a point, you become very lonely, because then you would have gotten to a certain stage, but then you do not have any real friend that you can throw ideas at and all of that. So it's one of the things that you need to think about. Have a circle. It's very important to have a circle, but have a circle that is close, that thinks like you. Okay. And then another personal regret is some girl I wanted to get married to and I didn't get married to her.
Some yawa.
Cut that out.
I want to add one.
And that has always been. That's always been a regret of mine. But, yeah. She was a very good girl. At that time, I was chasing business and money, so I thought marriage would come later. But yeah. Next question. Yes.
So is it safe to assume that as you started, you actually had a circle of friends who had the same vision as you, like to build your business with you? You will have been much more successful as compared to now.
Yes. I feel that one of the greatest challenges of my company right now is the fact that we are just a small land surrounded by an ocean. What I mean is that we have to import every single thing. Okay. Imagine that we had a circle of friends. You had about 5 people. You would be making the test kits. We'll make raw materials. We'll make this. Imagine how big it would have been, right? Or even if you had friends that were all even doing their own thing, but when you need to quickly get a contract, for instance, I can tell you this. I have a contract with Cote d'Ivoire that I need to supply a product. It's a lot of money. I need a little money to go and get a lot of money, right? As of now, I've not been able to raise the funds to be able to execute that contract. But if you had friends that thought alike, had the same vision and all of that, all you need to do is just place a call and it will be done. So it is very important. When you get to a certain stage in life, you realize that friends are important because they give you a lot of support. Okay.
So I just wanted to know, are there specific government businesses or government policies that made doing business in Ghana for you really hard?
In theory, yes. In practice, that's my answer. In theory, there are a lot of things that will tell you that they're trying to help businesses and all of that. In practice, you chase and chase and chase and chase and nothing happens. Okay, let me see if I got you. So, come across a deal, you're not 100% sure. Is that it? But you know that it's a good deal, but you're not 100% sure.
You're sure about the deal, but then you're not sure about the contract itself.
Oh, now, okay, I get it. So the deal is good, but the contract you're looking at is not very. Oh, it happens a lot. Sometimes somebody will bring you a deal. You will know that this deal is really good. I could easily execute this deal. But the person is telling you that, okay, for bringing you the deal, I want to take 60%. Okay, or for bringing you this deal, this is the condition attached to the deal. You know that the deal itself is good, but the conditions of the contract around the deal is weird. So there are two things. You negotiate. Okay, you tell the person, well, this is going to be my input. And so if you could change the deal a little bit, or the contract a little bit, or we are going to have a long-term relationship. So why don't you do it in such a way that we'll all get something small out of it for now? If the person is not prepared to change, you say no and you move on. I am very lucky that I'm in a sector that you don't have a lot of people in. So sometimes when you say no, they go and then they come back. Okay, because there's nobody else. But you might be in a deal where you can go and give it to someone else. Sometimes it is better that way. You create a reputation as being somebody who is very straightforward. And eventually it will pay off for you. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned that sometimes when you are trying to reject a deal, you might end up facing retaliation from the person, because if it's a very big contract, then it means that the person offering it probably has the money to give that sort of retaliation. So how do you reject a deal in a way that you're not getting the full force of their anger on you, that you can sort of mitigate it in such a way that you're not getting all of that?
That's a very good question. Sometimes you have no option. The retaliation would come. But sometimes you have to think ahead and let them know that right now is not a very good time for me to take this deal. But I am open to future ones that would come. Right? Especially if you know that this person can make your life hell. You can find any excuse for not taking the contract right now. But then you keep in touch, you call the person once in a while and everything, and then the person would forget, because especially, sometimes you might even have to suggest somebody else that the person can take the contract to. And once that happens, the person knows that you are not, there's no problem. One of the reasons why people retaliate is because they feel that they've exposed themselves to you. So you know certain things about them right now. You know that, oh, so this guy, all the money he has, he's been doing corrupt deals. So it is that shame and all of that. That is what the retaliation is about. So if you make them comfortable enough when you say no, sometimes it doesn't come. But for the people that wanted to buy my company like this, there was no way you could do so. The full force came, but we were able to weather the storm. Yeah.
In the scenario where maybe a contract comes and then you've made a decision that the contract is not good, but then your team disagrees with you and you've already made your decision that you're not going to go forward with the contract, but then they go behind your back and maybe take that contract, what will you do as a leader?
It's a scenario that happens a lot. Okay. And that is why informing the team, you need to be careful about the team that you form. People like to form teams based on the people they know and the people they like, and not necessarily the skill sets of the people that they are forming the team with. Currently, before I'll tell you that this is my decision, and I'll explain to you why it is a bad decision. I mean, the decision I'm taking is the right one. Sometimes we would have all the deliberations, and I'll change my mind, especially if you're able to convince me that, oh, but all of it mitigated in this way and that way. Okay. But if I have a strong conviction that this is bad, and they agree, and I convince the team, and the team doesn't agree, and they pass behind my back, whoever passes behind my back, that day you would lose your job. Because not only when you pass behind my back, you are not doing that as an individual, you're doing that as part of the company. And two things: if it backfires, it is the company's name that will be embroidered in all the scandals. Right? In 2020, there was somebody from the FDA, I think the legal something, that demanded a bribe from a company to be able to pass their product. When the news came, it said FDA had done ABCD. Right? So the name of the company would be involved. So because of that, you would go. The second thing is that if I let it stand, other people will feel that they can pass behind and nothing will happen. So first, I'll try and convince you that the decision I've taken is a good decision. If you don't agree, but if you decide to pass behind, you would leave. Simple as that. Yeah.
How did you successfully market and promote your product in a market where many people may be unfamiliar with its use or have its limitations?
I didn't hear what you said.
How did you successfully market and promote your
how
product?
How did I market? Okay. Social media was one. Social media, we did a lot of social media marketing. We gave a lot of free samples. But before you can start marketing your product, you need to find out who your audience is. Who are the people who are going to use your product? Sometimes you have to do a lot of freebies. For instance, our pregnancy test, we gave a lot of the labs free boxes for free. And when ours got finished, they wanted more. And we said, you have to buy. Do you get it? Yes. So that's how we did. But it's been an intensive marketing and campaign that has gotten us to people accepting our product. You have a follow-up? Yes.
Yes, but then let's say for like an audience that do not know how to operate kits or are able to read the results on the kits, how are you able to like train them to understand?
Okay. So our kits are very simple to do. And if you realize, when I was describing the VAG kit and all of that, I said just like a pregnancy test, right? So whenever we have educational videos and all of that, we make it so simple that you should be able to do the test yourself and be able to interpret the results. Do you understand? There are certain audiences that will not be able to do it. So we also have an insert that accompanies the kit that describes exactly what you're supposed to do. So marketing actually is intensive. It takes a lot of money. Most of the time when businesses are thinking about marketing, the last thing on their mind is about the how do you call it? The last thing on their minds is about the marketing. It's about basically promoting their product because they feel that everybody will come and buy. No, you have to do intense. Even Coca-Cola, which is everywhere, still does marketing, right? So marketing is very, very important. Oh, I think there was a lady.
So my name is Amanda. I also study biomedical engineering here. So you said that you had to study abroad to like learn all those skill sets. So I wanted to know like kind of almost what he said. Like, do you teach since you're like one of the 6 diagnostic companies? Like,
Yes, I teach it. I teach in University. Don't worry, I'll be coming here. We are cooking something. So if you want to learn the skill set, we'll do seminars and you come and listen. Okay. All right. That's a very good question. Thank you for asking.
I have a question. So I know that like sometimes when an individual is trying to start like a business, like his family members and his friends, some of them could like reject you and say some kinds of stuff to bring you down. So I wanted to know how you cope with that experience.
All right. Remember the resilience I spoke about. One of the things that you should have is resilience. When you start doing something, especially when it's something that people do not believe in, they will try to discourage you. Right? They'll try to discourage you. I can tell you for a fact that even today, there are things I try to do, and people will tell you that, nah, this one will not work. Okay? And that is why you need to have a vision. You need to know where you want to go with a business. And when you have a vision and you know exactly where you want to go, anything anybody says is a distraction. Huh? If I know that I'm going to Accra, like I'm in Accra and I know I'm going to Kumasi, I know that this is the road I'm going through. If somebody says, come and visit me in Koforidua or come and visit me in Takrady or anything, I will not be easily distracted because I know I am going here. And that's why you need to have the vision and have that. And when people try to discourage you, just have that vision and where you want to go. And I can tell you, it gets to a point, the distractions become like noise, just very little noise, but it doesn't affect you. Okay. All right. Thank you very much once again.